Okay, folks, we are done with the muscles of facial expression. So this is a second little sub video in this series for muscles of the head and the neck and face. So muscles of the head and somewhat neck and the muscles of mastication. We did the facial expression muscles here. Let's just deal with the muscles involved with, say, opening the mouth, the mandible, swallowing, speech, deglutition, things of that nature. So right here, inferior view of the basically the mental region or chin, we have the symphysis menti here. We have a right body of the mandible, left body of the mandible, and then we have a series of muscles under here. This muscle right here, and its a little counterpart on the other side, is called the digastric muscle. Okay, this muscle has two bellies, two contractile portions. So we have an anterior belly of the digastric. And then down here, we have, let's see, it's kind of tricky for me to maneuver my hand here in front of the camera, and a posterior belly of the digastric muscle. And in between here, we have this little band of connective tissue called an intermediate ligament. And then we have this little loop of connective tissue that attaches to the hyoid bone, and that is called a trochlea. There's a lot of trochleas in the human body, some in the eye orbital cavity. There's a trochlea, which is the same thing as the medial condyle of the humerus. And now we have this little loop of connective tissue, the trochlea. So di means two, gastric means stomach or belly. So we have one belly, and oops, there we go, and two bellies. It's this muscle underneath this one right here. So what this digastric muscle does is it elevates the hyoid bone and helps hold it steady during speech and deglutition, otherwise known as swallowing. But its main job is to depress the mandible, and in so doing, open the mouth. Okay, now we have this one right here on top. So the one down here is in the posterior belly of the digastric, but this one right here is called the stylohyoid. Did I even mention the insertion and origin of the digastric? No. Origin, the anterior belly originates on the lower margin of the mandible right here, and it's going to insert on the hyoid bone right here. And the posterior belly is going to originate on the mastoid process of the occipital bone or skull and insert on the hyoid bone back here. So the digastric has two origins, one here and one here, but the insertion of the two bellies is in the same spot there. Okay, stylohyoid, little dude here. Well, obviously, the insertion is on the hyoid bone. The origin is the styloid process of the temporal bone. And actually, what am I saying? I said mastoid process of the occipital. No, mastoid process is a part of the temporal bone as well, not the occipital. Okay, blame that on me not having enough go juice this morning and not even eating. So, stylohyoid, styloid process of the temporal bone or skull to hyoid bone. What does the stylohyoid do? It elevates the hyoid bone. It lifts this whole thing up and pulls it back, pulls it posteriorly. So we say it retracts the hyoid bone. And what this does is it kind of pulls on the floor of the mouth during swallowing or deglutition. Swallowing food's a complicated thing. Now, this next muscle, the fibers go right to left, medial to lateral from this mid-sagittal raphe of connective tissue here. It goes underneath the digastric on either side. So this mylohyoid bone originates on the medial surface of the mandible on either side. And again, it's going to insert on this band of connective tissue here called the median raphe, which goes to the hyoid bone. So what this muscle does, the mylohyoid, elevates the hyoid bone and floor of the mouth It enables the tongue to push backwards, posterior, and upwards, superior, and that helps you swallow food. It helps you push food from your mouth into your throat so you can swallow it. You want to know what gives the mylohyoid a really good workout? Peanut butter that sticks to the roof of your mouth. When I was a little kid, I loved celery and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And that peanut butter would always stick to the roof of our mouth and make us all cough funny. And we'd just be working that tongue on the roof of the mouth, trying to get that peanut butter off because it was annoying when it got all stuck back there in a glob. Well, that poor little mylohyoid bone probably got an Arnold Schwarzenegger level workout there. Okay, so that's that. Now, let's see, geniohyoid. Is a geniohyoid going to show here? Not very well. Let me pause our recording here real. Okay, this is a good angle in the light so we can see everything here. I got to get this silly cursor out of the way. So, bunch of stuff that's been sort of cut away. Everything that you see here is obscuring a lot of stuff. So let's bring this around to the other side so we can see some other muscles that have been removed. So we have this big muscle here, this big muscle here, and we have this big muscle here, which are going to appear somewhat differently now. Okay, so there's a muscle that runs underneath. It's deep to the mylohyoid. You cannot see it there. So it's going to run medially from the chin to the hyoid bone, kind of follows the same direction there. What that does is it's also going to elevate and protract the hyoid. But some of the other important things here would be, let's see here. Let's see if we can make out a genioglossus, a hyoglossus, and styloglossus. Okay, so this top muscle right here, notice how it disappears underneath the mylohyoid. These all go to the styloid process of the temporal bone, just inferior to the external acoustic meatus here. So what we have here is a styloglossus. Well, that styloglossus, it originates on the styloid process of the temporal bone, as I said. It inserts on the lateral inferior, so kind of to the side and down a bit, aspect of the tongue. So we have some extrinsic tongue muscles here with this styloglossus. What does it do? It retracts the tongue, pulls it backward, and elevates it, lifts it up against the roof of the mouth. So once again, that aforementioned peanut butter from the peanut butter and celery that got stuck on the roof of your mouth, well, you're also going to give the styloglossus muscle, styloglossus muscle a workout. Let's see, hyoglossus. Can we even see that? Oh my God, yes, we can. A faint portion of the hyoglossus right here. Let's get this in the center. There we go. I'm going to hold this up this way. So hyoglossus muscle is right here. It goes from the hyoid bone up underneath all of this to the tongue. What does the hyoglossus do? Well, first of all, it originates on the body of the hyoid and greater horn of the hyoid bone and inserts on the tongue inferolaterally, so down and to the side. This is going to pull the tongue downward. It will depress it and draw it laterally. So once again, you open your mouth as insanely wide as you can to accommodate that bacon, bacon, double, double, cheese, cheeseburger, burger. Well, this is going to have to help pull your tongue down to make room. Okay, so that is the hyoglossus. Now, can we make out a genioglossus muscle here? Not really. If I had to say a genioglossus muscle shows up here, it's just not going to be visible here because these are all deep underneath the myoglossus. However, a couple of things we did mention before here, we can see this is a posterior belly of the digastric, And then next up is the stylohyoid. And then, of course, then we have the styloglossus. Now, we got to flip this around. Actually, what I really need to do here is, I need to flip this around here. Oh, shoot, I can't. There we go. Get this as far away as possible. And this is good. Hold on. Center that. There we go. I got that centered in the camera. This is good. So right here is a temporalis muscle. So this great big temporalis muscle originates on the temporal and parietal bones. We saw the temporal line on the skull as sort of a boundary of where this muscle attaches. It travels down underneath the zygomatic arch. So the zygomatic arch has been removed here, and this temporalis muscle, the tendon that goes to the coronoid process of the mandible, travels underneath the zygomatic arch. So what this temporalis muscle does, a major muscle that elevates the jaw powerfully, inserts on the coronoid processes of the mandible. So it's going to elevate and retract the mandible, and basically it's going to be your bite down muscle, closes the jaw. Now, what about this missing zygomatic arch? Let's rotate this around the other side. There we go. So that great big temporalis muscle's buried underneath all of this. Everything you see here is buried. It covers the temporalis muscle. We can't see it. We can see a masseter muscle. Originates on the zygomatic arch of the zygomatic bone and temporal bones. Inserts at the base and angle of the mandible. So angle and ramus rather. What does this do? It's another bite down muscle. It elevates the jaw, closes the mouth. It's worth noting that this right here is called the parotid gland. We have a duct that passes through the masseter muscle. When you chew food, you actually massage this parotid duct and help the movement of saliva into your mouth for the digestion of carbohydrates and other things. So that's masseter muscle. Okay, we cannot really see the medial and lateral pterygoideus muscles on any of our models. However, what we do have here visible are auricularis muscles. Well, these will sort of tense the fascia of the skin in and around the ear. Okay, so I think I've pretty much gone through all the muscles we can credibly see on this particular model. All these other things like sternocleidomastoid, scalenus anterior, middle scalene, scalenus posterior, sternohyoid muscle, omohyoid, and then sternothyroid, levator scapulae, trapezius, splenius capitis, semispinalis capitis, all these other muscles, we need a full, we need a head with all the shoulders attached to the torso to see their full extent. So that's the end of this little recording, and I'm going to log off now and make the next ones.